Our desires, appetites, and passions are largely misunderstood. Usually we think of passions as being things that ought to... This is talking about Mormon culture specifically, and this is a little insight if you're not a part of Mormon culture. This is actually more than just Mormons. I think the Puritan Christian culture has an issue with this, but I'll take ownership as a member of the Mormon culture that that's definitely a problem, and that's misunderstanding passions. Usually we think of passions as being things that ought to be limited. This is short-sighted. Many people have incorrectly viewed passions as things to be stopped and halted rather than harnessed. In the Temple Endowment, the LDS Temple Endowment, we are simply told that, quote, desires, appetites, and passions are to be kept within the bounds the Lord has set, unquote. Within the parameters given by God, we have the opportunity to use them to their fullest potential, that being our passions. That is a place where we divert from some Christian doctrines. That some Christian doctrines have a belief that the ultimate spiritual state, actually not just in Christian. There's more than one religious dogma or a doctrine that I know of that believes that the use of passion is ungodlike. That's where Latter-day Saints deviate from those, is that we believe that passions, when they're kept within the bounds the Lord has set, are righteous and wonderful. So taking this idea and I'm applying it specifically to the way that our American educational system works. So, for instance, our current education system spends a considerable amount of time squashing and controlling the otherwise healthy inclinations of students in order to conform the students' actions to the system's idea of what constitutes worthy behavior, speaking from experience. Some teachers actively minimize desires of students by conditioning them to ignore these impulses through grooming with weaponized testing and its pointless twin evil, rote memorization. Other educators simply lack the knowledge, training, and or means to be able to effectively harness these underutilized assets, those of the passions of the students. And I'm not talking about where people are like super exceptional, where they have behavioral issues, where they're violent or whatever. Like, there are boundaries to what we're talking about here. I'm talking about the average, typical students in the classroom that aren't like total social pariahs because of their crazy behavior. That's an exception. I'm talking about the average students here, and speaking from experience. As a result, student passions are often negatively impacted. Further, sometimes unhealthy passions are even awakened and encouraged in this same system. Again, coming from experience. More than one artificially inflated ego has arisen to afflict an individual's inspired potential out of the ungrounding pomp and circumstance of academia. Coming from experience, it speaks for itself. This is all applying the principles that we've talked about earlier. That it's manifesting in specifically, it manifests in many different places, but in education, it's particularly apparent. In fact, that's where a lot of these ideas percolated out in my own understanding, was through my less than ideal experience in both secondary education, or primary, secondary, and collegiate education. This is really starting to get into the crux of what the essence of creativity. Because when you, I don't want my ideas to get out too soon. They'll come out in logic through and then I won't miss anything. So yeah, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean.